When I think about a gay bar, that's the place, you just like when you picture a home, you picture your home, like the place you grew up in, like just picture any home. When I picture any bar, when I picture a bar, when I'm writing, I write. So like when I write about being in a bar, that's the bar I picture myself in.
Hey, hello, I am Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Every episode, I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories that they created there, and the people that they used to know. So, normally when I sit down to talk to my guests, we have, a bit of a chit-chat where we just talk about nonsense to break the ice before we get going. And this is all like before I hit the record button. But occasionally, the chit-chat turns into something very interesting and very relevant for the episode. And so I have to scrabble and press record whilst also trying to make sure that we don't lose the rhythm of the conversation that we were having. Which is what you will find with the start of this week's episode, where Mike, who is one half of the presenters from the Gayish podcast, started to tell me that the very first time that he ever went to the gay bar that we were there to talk about, our place in Seattle, was with his then wife. Yes. So you know why I had to hit the record button, right? But, if the conversation is getting good before you've even started recording, then you know that you are in for a good episode. I talked this week with Mike and his co-host Kyle all about how they first met, how to spot a Seattle gay, because they're very different from other gays, that's what I hear, and we reminisce about the experience of standing on the pavement at the end of the night after you've been kicked out of the pub and scouring around for someone, anyone to go home with. Let's get into it. So, you had a wife.
I did, yeah, for a long time.
For a long, how long is a long time? Like for me, 3 months is a long time when it comes to relationships. So,
let's see, we met in 2002 and got married in 2004 and got divorced in 2008. So it was 6 years, give or take, total.
And she wanted to go to our place.
Yeah, I mean, she was a self-proclaimed fag hag. Like, she had lots of gay friends. She was a theater nerd and had like all kinds of gays in orbit around her. You'd think that she would have known on some level that I was a big old mo.
Closer in orbit than she knew.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So she was comfortable with the term fag hag.
Yeah, oh yeah, she loved it. But mostly because she was an attention whore, and anything that like got her, attention was worth it. And so yeah.
I'm not sure what to read into that statement, but yeah, anyway, so she wanted to go to our place.
Yes.
And were you like, yes, I want to go? Or were you like, yeah?
Well, I think there's this thing that closeted people do where you vacillate between distancing yourself as much as possible from the queer community because you just think that by proximity you'll be found out. But then there's also this thing, I think that's actually more common, of I'm just going to dive cock first into this and do the thing to show you how not gay I am. And I very much approached this experience as the latter, especially since she had invited some of my straight friends, and several of them were fraternity brothers. I was in a fraternity in college. And so there was this game of sort of homoerotic chicken happening of I couldn't not go because that would be more suspicious.
So then how do you dive into something cock first?
By saying, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to wear something slutty. I hope I get hit on. And like joking with my straight friends about like, hey, you see that dude over there? I think he's into you. Ha ha ha. that kind of stuff.
So just making a really pleasant place for everyone else there.
Right. Exactly.
For some straight tourism. So then what do you remember of that first night?
What I remember is I have never been much of a dancer. I was especially not a dancer at that point in my life. And she and her girlfriends all like took over the dance floor, which I'm now horrified in retrospect because that's exactly what I, as a gay man, hate is a big old pack of screaming woo girls out in the middle of our dance floor. But she did that, and it's me and a couple of my straight bros sitting at this tall table over by the windows. You remember, Kyle, up like the dance floor had like that corner area that now is a go-go, or sorry, when it closed it was a go-go box, but there used to be tables there. We sat at that table, and a couple of guys came over and like actually full on hit on us. My friend Chuck and I, and I said, actually, I'm straight, and like waved the wedding ring. And so this kid pulled his shirt over my head. He said, well, then I'm for sure going to hit on you hard. And like pulled, like we were both wearing his shirt because he did this maneuver. I don't know. It was very awkward and terrifying and sexy at the same time.
But
Yeah, you look confused.
so I'm just going to quickly make this about me, and then I'm going to ask follow-up
Great,
questions
okay.
about your experience.
Sure.
I never, ever get hit on in bars. Is it common to get hit on where you live?
I mean, Seattle is notorious for like people not talking to each other. Like getting hit on in a Seattle bar is like furtive glances across the bar until you've both had like 8 or 9 cocktails, and then maybe you'll
Oh,
chat.
good. That's what I'm
maybe.
used to.
Right. This boy does stand out in my memory because he was so bold.
And so, like, did you tingle? Did you have funny feelings when that happened?
Yes. I mean, I knew that I was gay, right? I was in no denial about that. And
okay.
so this...
You were in a little bit of, there's a little bit of denial.
Well, I mean, I like to say that like I was out to myself at like age 12. I was just determined not to be. I grew up in a rural red part of the state, conservative part of the state. And I just was determined to like push my sexuality down into a deep, dark place that would never be spoken of and live a normal, straight life. So, but I knew for sure that I was gay. I was out to myself and just determined not to be.
See, I just assumed that you hadn't figured it out at the time you got married.
And that does happen to some people. It's funny because there's a lot of projection on my part. Like for a long time, I assumed that nobody was like that, that how could you not have it figured out? Everyone's just lying. If they're not lying, then they're lying to themselves. I don't think that anymore. I've met enough people that like legit didn't figure themselves out until their mid-20s or later that I now recognize that that's actually a pattern that happens.
And so you knew yourself, but what was the dynamic like with your wife? What was the relationship like? And did she have any inklings? Obviously, you can't speak on her behalf, but please do.
Right. I can't speak on her behalf that way, but I will say that because I was so determined not to be gay, I think on some level, some subconscious level, I sought out somebody who was super controlling and very dominant alpha. She told me exactly who to be, what to wear, who to talk to, where to go on vacation, which hobbies I could have. And that very much helped straitjacket me into the life I thought I wanted to create for myself. And so there was a dysfunctional functionality that happened.
So what hobbies did she make you have?
Well, mostly not have. She
had to give up
didn't. She didn't
macrame.
like for me to play music. I was a musician leading up to being with her, but she did make me take up running, and I was a runner for a long time, and which is great for fitness. So
She made you give up music.
yeah. Well, and when you're playing music and singing, the attention is on you, and that meant it wasn't on her.
And so how did it work? Was it over a period of time she just kind of negged you until you gave up? Or did she just say, you're not doing that anymore?
Never said that. And in fact, she would probably claim that she was supportive of it because at one point for my birthday, I think she got me a guitar. It was just that my family's a big bunch of musicians and she fought with all of them. And there were always like yelling dramatic arguments in the car, going there, coming home from there about, she just made it very, very clear that that was not an environment that she liked or supported. And like she always insisted that we only have one car, and then I couldn't take that one car anywhere because then she wouldn't have any mode of transportation. There's a constellation of control there, but a plausible deniability to all of it at the same time. But she made it very clear who she wanted me to hang out with and who she didn't want me to hang out with in really subtle, again, plausibly deniable ways. And anything involving music, anything involving me doing something independent, especially if it was something that would garner attention, that got really strong consequences.
Okay. So then, going back to the boy who put his shirt over your whole body
Sure.
in order for you to be one being,
Y-
did
yep,
she
yep.
see that, and did that garner any attention that potentially got you into trouble?
No, not at all. They were on the dance floor
Yeah.
dancing, being drunk woo girls. So all of this was the only person who saw that was again my buddy Chuck, who also got hit on, which was great.
And it's great because you weren't singled out.
Oh yeah, we got to share in the awkwardness.
And so, did you get his number?
No.
And so it was just that kind of innocent interaction, and then he went off into the night.
Yep. They said have a good night and went on their way.
Okay, I'm making assumptions, so I need to stop myself. Was that your first homo experience?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
In college, I'm a little older. I'm in my 40s, and
That's not old.
No, it's not. It's not old, but it's older than a lot of the 20-somethings that have daddy issues that hit on me. When I was a sophomore in college, so like 1997, 98, something like that, I flirted with the idea that I was bisexual and went on a couple of dates in Spokane. Told nobody. Had horrible experiences, which I think I sort of sought out a bad experience so that I could push myself further into the closet. But
Noticing a pattern here.
yeah, for sure.
But so when this nubile young man rubbed his belly against you, you were just like, oh, yeah, I've done this before.
Oh, I'd not done that before.
So what were the ripples then? What were the repercussions of that action? Or were there any? I'm just making this a bigger deal than it is.
There weren't any immediate ones. I do think, though, that it is part of a pattern of things that happened when she and I moved to Seattle. That part of my not wanting to be gay was growing up where I grew up. I saw zero role models. There was no gay community. There was no out queer community in my little farm town of 2,000 people. And the only gay person in my life actually was my Uncle Tommy, my great uncle. And I watched him and his partner die of AIDS. So there was definitely this like strong message that like being gay is an unhappy death sentence. And so we moved to a little town called Spokane, which is larger, but not a big city. And that's where she and I met, and still no community, no role models, no anything. But when we moved to the big city of Seattle, which this is a big ass city, there's 2 million people in the greater Seattle area. I met happy, healthy, well-adjusted gay people who were successful, who had these awesome relationships, and started to have these sort of experiences that taught me that maybe being gay isn't such a bad idea. Maybe this is a life that I could have for myself and enjoy and be. And so, yeah, I mean, no immediate ripple from this particular experience, but it's part of a whole series of events of like, maybe it wouldn't be so bad to be gay. And it chipped away at this sort of shell that I had put around the idea that it was even possible.
And do you remember the moment or series of moments when you were like, yeah, man, I'm going to do this? And do you call yourself man when you're talking to yourself in your head? Or is it just me? I oscillate between that and dude.
I'm deeply, deeply, tragically cis. I like to joke, but it's also not a joke that she cheated on me with a dude at work, so I cheated on her with a dude at work, and that was the beginning of the end of our relationship. I experimented with the guy that I worked with, and it became very clear that like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be gay.
Oh, you found your calling.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so, after you accepted membership into the club and you got your laminated card and stuff, did you go back to our place as like a fully realized homosexual ready to break hearts?
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was like the first time?
The first time I went to our place, so she and I split up in 2008, and that winter, so November, December, I started seeing this guy who was a dancer. I've never danced as much in my life as I did during this like 3 or 4 month period when I was seeing this dude. And our place was very much one of the like frequent destinations. I was at our place probably 2 or 3 nights a week with this guy.
And you hated dancing.
I don't hate dancing. I'm just not that into it. And
is this a potato situation?
you're right. Well, hate is very active. Hate is like, no, fuck this, I'm not doing it. And you can get me out on the dance floor. I will.
And you'll
I will do
begrudgingly
that.
like move your shoulders a little.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, I get it.
But I was at our place a lot with this dude that I started seeing, more or less immediately after I left her. And so yeah, our place has a soft spot in my heart as being like one of my first frequent haunts. It was one of the very few places that you could go and actually dance in Seattle if that was your thing. We've got a big dance floor at a place called The Cuff, and The Cuff is still open. And you could dance at our place. They had a big dance floor on the 3rd floor. I don't know. Where else do you dance, Kyle?
Neighbors. If you like the younger guys, you could go to Neighbors. Yeah, it was very much like whereas I was used to gay bars where every single gay bar you go to has some kind of dance floor, big or small. There's a dance floor. In Seattle, not every gay bar is assumed to have a dance floor, and that's very fitting for the Seattle personality of like dancing puts yourself out there and is, I don't know, a little bit more, we're more mellow and less kind of traditional gays than that.
Well, so maybe then we need to take a step back and you need to tell me more about Seattle gays as a species. So really all I know about Seattle is drizzle, grunge. There's a TV show from Seattle.
Frasier.
iZombie is Seattle, right?
I think that's right. Yeah.
So that's pretty much me. So what else do I need to know?
So I moved up to Seattle from Austin. That's where I went to school. And I remember I worked at Microsoft. I joined the gay and lesbian group to try to find, unlike Mike, I came out in college. So I had been out to gay bars. So when I moved to Seattle, I was already out and I had the experience of kind of exploring gay bars, being out and open and, still confused and unsure of myself, but in very different ways. But I remember the first gay and lesbian event I went to for Microsoft was not at our place, but I was looking around at this pool hall for the gays and I couldn't find them. I just thought I would see them. And then I realized that there they were with the engineering t-shirt and the shorts. This was the first time I realized that gays don't have to look a certain way, that the Microsoft culture or the like Seattle tech culture actually took precedence over the gay. I expected really nice looking, well-dressed, fit guys, and that was just not the case. So I think Seattle gays they don't and most people in Seattle, you don't have to dress up to do anything. Yeah, it's more grungy than looking like cool or fashionable or preppy. Because of the rain, it's like, it's a rainy day. Like, let's just stay inside or chill. Or let's just go somewhere and sit down and have a drink. It's that vibe, but like all the time. Everyone's very like friendly, but very passive. And by that, I mean bottoms.
Okay, so what's different about that in every other city then?
I think there is a level of like, it's funny coming from Texas because people would just like walk up to you and talk to you, or people like if you started a conversation, you could meet people and make friends. In Seattle, it's so hard to break through the exterior of people to like, you might have a quick conversation with someone, but like you're not going to make a new friend very easily. It takes years of living here before you finally meet people, and it's called the Seattle freeze. It takes a while to break into who we are. So I think it's just an extreme version of what I think a lot of people experience in other places.
Yeah, you're not really making me want to come visit Seattle, I have to say.
It's beautiful. You should visit. I think one of my problems is it's a lot of people that are a lot like me. And you don't want a bunch of introverted, uncomfortable, like low self-confidence people all together in a room. You want some extroverts and some talkative people and some confident people. You want a bigger mixture. So
You want those peppy people so you can bitch about them, right?
so you can lean over to your other introverted friend and be like, he's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you need them.
I'm talking about only the shitty things or the like difficult things about being a Seattle gay. There is a low level of judgment. Like part of why I live here is because I am not the fit gay that looks like I live in LA and is going to dress up real nice. I don't want to do that. I want to go out in a hoodie and be chill, and other people will do that too. So there is a very nice thing about not having to always feel like you're on and feeling like you have to be like that gay. So there's a different kind of gay person that I feel like I can be a little bit more myself here. And actually our place was a good balance for me between, there were places that were like for people that were like very young. There were places that were you need to dress up and see and be seen at this bar. And I hated those because I always felt so judged and like I didn't fit in. So this was like the right mixture of it's fun, but it's not judgy. You can look nice, but you don't have to look fancy. Plus it was the last place I went in the night, so I was already trashed. Like there's a certain combination of things that made me feel most comfortable being there.
So was it a place that everyone went to at the end of the night, or just a place that you ended up going to at the end of the night? Like, is it that kind of place?
I think a lot of people wanted to end their night at our place because of the dancing, especially when you had enough drinks, you could get there. If you could make it up to the third floor by, in spite of yourself. It was a great place. There were a couple go-go boys. Eventually they, updated to have, go-go girls or people. And yeah, I would personally, this is, how you can tell I was younger when I went there. I would always just get Long Island iced tea after Long Island iced tea when I was there so that I could like have the confidence to dance.
Aww. Aww.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do you remember the first time you went there?
I don't, which I both have a very bad memory and also was often drunk when I went there. So that combination of things does not help. But it was the same thing every time you'd wait in line. Usually have to pay a cover. There was what had to be a butch lesbian at the front door. That was the first time. At first I was terrified, and eventually I was like, oh, butch lesbians can be very sweet as long as you don't do anything to piss them off. But, there was someone at the door whose name was like Diane or like...
Ooh, with one N or two?
I do not remember her name. At one point I did. But she'd just like check your ID and she'd hand it back real cool and go, thanks, baby. And then you'd walk in.
Wait, who's baby? Are you baby or is she baby?
Every customer that she let in was baby.
Aww.
Yeah. So she was like a good... me being this shy, nervous, terrified kid was like, the more and more I went back, I was like, oh, like she's very kind. And my judgment of her based on her appearance is like, not like it's very surface. And she's like a very kind person.
So you moving to Seattle, did you know anyone, or was it like, off I go?
I had a straight female friend who was I came out to her and she was my best friend. She had already moved up. She was living here. No, she had interned here and I moved up actually before her, but I knew she was coming. So it's funny. I had her and then I kind of glommed onto her friends at first when I moved up, and, we did straight things. We went to this, if we went out in the neighborhood, the Capitol Hill, we would go to straight places. And I always had to decide if I was going to deal with a straight place, or I started to meet gay people at my work and I started going out with them. And I didn't like them that much, but they were gays and they went out. So I kind of dealt with it.
Isn't that funny? Like I was going to say, like one of the gifts of being gay is that you have to force yourself to go and meet new people and to be in those situations, or you have to force yourself to hang out with people that you would never hang out with in real life.
They were very much bar friends, where it's, those people that you're not actually friends with, like you don't know any of their interests, but you always go out. Like I had a group of those friends when I very first moved to Seattle.
Yeah. I was never very good at that. I always got really confused. Like I thought they should be my real friends and didn't kind of appreciate them for what they were. And so would end up just getting really frustrated and annoyed that I didn't make sense to them rather than just being like, okay, well, it's, I can ditch them as soon as I find someone to dance with.
Yeah.
Time for a quick ad break. So, as you know, this show is all about spaces. And one of the things that I am particularly interested in exploring is what are the ingredients to a successful space? Is it about the host? Is it about the people who happen to be there? Is it about the ground rules? Or is it a magical combination of all of the above plus a little bit more? Well, luckily, I have been given the opportunity to find out. I have recently partnered with Spaces, the new group chat app for queer communities. On Spaces, users can set up their own space within the app, and the one that I have set up is called Lost Queer Spaces, where I will be sharing a little more insight from every episode of this show, but I will also be throwing in some vintage nightclub posters, throwback songs, and a whole heap of embarrassing photos from sweaty nights out clubbing. If you want to know more, all you need to do is find Spaces in the App Store, download it, and set up your profile. And don't worry if you're on the go at the moment, I will make sure to include more details as well as a link in the show notes for this episode. So let's get back to the show, but I hope to see you very, very soon on Spaces. So I've asked when you first went there, Mike. I've asked when you first went there, Kyle. Do you remember a time when you both first went there together?
This is all you, Mike. I remember nothing.
Yeah. Kyle and I, our relationship is based in conversation and connection. It's not based in getting super fucked up and doing drugs and dancing. So I think that we would tend toward quieter, more conversational oriented places. Now, I'm sure that we went to our place together. We've been friends since 2008, 2009, and there's no way we didn't end up at our place multiple times over the years. I seem to feel like one of your ex-boyfriends liked to go there. Is that true?
I distinctly remember we went, and it might have been with one of my exes, but the reason I distinctly remember that we went there is because especially when I get drunk, I'm sure Mike loves it, have a fun thing with Mike where I touch him on his face, or I've tried to stick my finger up his butt, or I just do these fun, adorable things where I'm really annoying towards him. And I remember I was really drunk and I was grinding on Mike, and he did not want me to. And the next day I was like, oh God, this is not acceptable. It is not okay to grind on someone. There's a consent line that was it wasn't just one moment or something weird. I was like, that was uncomfortable and was not cool. And so I remember texting him the next day being like, that was not cool.
But I am learning that there is some quality in Mike that makes people want to rub up against him in bars.
Well, it's funny because our place had the dance floor on the third floor has, like Mike said, in the back where he was staying with his straight bro, there is a place you can kind of just stand, and maybe they have tables and you can kind of pretend you're just yes. But as the dance floor gets full and full, it's this is one of the things about it that I think didn't realize, but about it is it kind of the group can get big enough that it kind of, you're kind of in it whether you want to be or not. So I think there's a level of, especially Mike being stoic and just standing there, that just makes you I think that's why I want to poke at him, is I think I'm have a little bit bigger kind of facial reactions, or my voice will sometimes get all squealy, but there's a stoic level of Mike that just makes you want to tap on it and kind of try to crack it open. And so Mike just standing there, it's are you having fun? Do you hate this? Do you I don't know. So I just want to there's times where I just want to push him over and see what happens.
That final sentence just seemed a bit too excited.
No, it's fine. It's normal.
And so, Mike, is this a common thing for you then?
What?
Not just Kyle, but just random people wanting to put their fingers up your butt.
I don't know. I don't think of myself as being a stoic person, so it's interesting. I'm capable of it. I do know that like I'm taking it all in and having an experience face is very placid, I think. And so I've had to say, like at concerts especially, I've had to say to the people that are with me, if I have no expression on my face whatsoever, it's because I'm in it. The music is inside me, and that's all that matters. And I do that to a lesser extent in a lot of contexts. So if that makes somebody want to like, hey, get my attention, then so be it. I also have ADD, so like you need to get my attention first, and then you'll get like fully realized human reactions.
So you met in 2008, 2009. So was this after you divorced or after you were separated, Mike?
After separation, pre-divorce, yeah. Kyle and I both worked at Microsoft together. And when I left my ex-wife, I was looking for, similar to Kyle, I was looking for gay people to hang out with in Seattle because I didn't really have any gay friends or gay community. And so I got involved with the employee resource group at Microsoft for queer people. And that's how he and I met.
So we have them to thank.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly right.
The Microsoft Gay and Lesbian Employee Group. What was the official title?
Gleam.
Gay
and lesbian employees at Microsoft, although it also covered, trans non-binary.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But they were just like, we can't fit you in the acronym, so tough luck.
When they first started, everything started as gay and lesbian, and then later, like technically, I think it was the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender employees at Microsoft or something. But when we started, we just had the G and the L that we cared about, and those were easier to make acronyms out of.
Glateam sounds good to me.
Neither of us are part of that anymore, so we have no official vote.
I still think we can influence them. Let's get on it.
Okay.
But anyway, so you met there. What were your first impressions of each other?
Kyle.
No, you started laughing. I want to know what that was. What's going on?
It's more of a snicker.
The laugh is the story. We had not met in person at all, and someone was coordinating transportation to get to an event. And somebody said, I think you guys live near each other. Could you pick this person up and take him to the event with you? And it was literally across the street from where I lived. And so I just drove my Jeep down the hill and parked out front. And so from Kyle's perspective, he walked out and got in a stranger's car.
Yeah, so like a standard Saturday night, right?
First impressions, I like everybody until I have a reason not to.
I knew kind of a little bit about what was going on with Mike, just because the friend that like was coordinating these things was like, he's going through a divorce. And so one of the first like conversations we had, I think, was one where me being this reserved, didn't talk about anything, tried to hide who I really was very deep, not the gay part. I was openly gay, but like everything else about me, I really tried to stuff down and pretend I'm whoever you need me to be. And so I think our first conversation, Mike was talking about things about like his divorce or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's okay. Hi, nice to meet you, person. It was so not what I was used to, which interestingly, now that I think about it, maybe you set up this dynamic that it's okay to talk about these things. I very much remember, and this is fine to say because it was neither of us, I was very much not into him trying to date or sexually. And like we have had a platonic friendship from the moment we met. And a lot of people can't believe that two gay dudes can be friends for this long. And we've never hooked up, made out, had a thing.
Well, there was that one time at our place.
I did, but it was a funny grinding on him, not a sexy grinding on him.
Oh,
you know?
Okay. Oh, can you show me the difference?
Yes.
And despite his best efforts, that finger has never gone in my butt.
It was over the jeans.
Not even the nail? Not even the tip?
Over, not under the jeans. So we're safe.
Over, not under.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because later I would become the membership director of that group for the 2 years that I worked at Microsoft. And when I planned an event going out, one of the events that I planned was going out to our place. This was like pulling out, those same engineering shirt, cargo short wearing gays that, often liked to play video games. You know, there's like just the certain type of gay tech nerd that I was trying to like get out to a bar, and our place was where I tried to take them to like get drunk and dance. And some people got into it and others didn't so much, but.
Aw. That's horrible when you're the person who's responsible for throwing the event and people are lukewarm about it. That's so stressful.
Especially when you're an introvert and you're like, for the next few hours, I have to just turn on any piece of me that is extroverted and excited and happy and can get people to like dance and do something, and it takes a lot out of you. But that's what I signed up for when I was signed up to plan events like that.
But on top of that, if you're an introvert, you're usually very sensitive, and so you're picking up every micro movement of every single person that's there and interpreting it.
There's something good though about, because I think extroverts may not notice. Like I think I can do the scan of the room and be like, that person hasn't talked in a while, or that person doesn't have a drink, or that person is giving this body
very
language.
Stoic. Maybe I should go and rub up against them.
Maybe I should poke them in the face until they crack. I think there's something you can read about people that's a very useful skill. So then, okay, let me go up and stand next to that person and talk to them so they have a conversation.
Oh, yeah. But, once you tip into the internalizing and somehow blaming yourself for it, that's not so useful.
See, I don't have to tip at all. I'm there already. Like I live there. So I don't, so there's nothing new or different about that experience. No, you're right. It does put yourself out there in a way that like you just assume everyone's judgment is,
and soaking up all that energy that may or may not actually be their energy, but it doesn't matter because you're going to beat yourself up about it.
Yep.
That's fun. But so in this car, you were driving towards this event. Mike was telling you stuff. You were like, oh, gee, I don't know why he's telling me all of this stuff. What happened from then? Were you just that you ran into each other at different events and the friendship built, or did he win you over?
I think the next time we hung out was that at your divorce party, Mike?
Can you say your divorce party was at our place, and can we talk about it? Or just pretend.
We can pretend.
I think it was gay yoga. I think that we did gay yoga a couple of times together. Is that not?
I have no idea. The order of things.
Because you went to gay yoga, right? I went to gay yoga, and my divorce party was the dude that ran gay yoga, several other Microsoft employees, a lot of whom actually went to UT Austin like Kyle did, and I think that was sort of the connection there. We for sure hung out a few times. Part of the reason that I know we hung out a few times is because that dude that I was dating that loved to go to our place, I told him one night that I couldn't hang out with him because I was tired, and I legit was tired of dancing all the fucking time at our place, and then met Kyle out at Neighbors. I think it was Neighbors. And then we ran into him, and that's when that relationship ended, because I had lied to him and said I didn't want to go out, and I was hanging out with Kyle.
Kyle, you split them up.
None of that's on Kyle.
So I want to find out more about this. First of all, what about it makes it gay when you're doing yoga? That's gay yoga.
Run by a gay, and only gays are there.
Oh, okay, so it's not preparing you for certain sexual positions.
No, it's not like do the sphincter stretch or like the the bottoms pose or anything. No.
Although Happy Bottom was one of the poses.
So show us.
But I think it's supposed to be Happy Baby, but it's happy Bottom.
Oh, okay. Wait, is that you like grabbing onto your toes with your fingers?
Yep.
Now I'm picturing that.
And now picture a group of men doing that and sweaty in a room.
So basically, our place is the reason that you broke up with this guy in a roundabout way, but let's make it that way so we can.
In a roundabout way, yeah, absolutely. It just, there are so few places to dance in Seattle. He wanted to hang out there all the time, and we did, and it was fun, and I liked it. It was interesting getting to like navigate a queer relationship for the first time. But I wanted a night off, and I wanted to hang out with somebody and have a conversation, not be in a loud dance floor. And so I lied. Instead of asserting myself and saying, I just want a night off from the dancing, please.
Yeah.
I lied, got caught.
And what was it like? I asked this in the context of only ever having a straight relationship before, and then this being your first time in a gay relationship.
Yeah.
Did you put lots of emphasis on it being a success and you being a successful homosexual as a result? Or did you have a healthy perspective on it? You can tell which way I would have tipped.
I think I had a healthy perspective on it. It was casual, and I didn't want it to be anything more than really casual. I really enjoyed sort of being forced out of my comfort zone with him. And
because of all the dancing or because of other things?
Well, also he had a massive penis, but the dancing also was very, very, very fun.
That's when the gay yoga comes in handy.
Right.
And so then when you broke up, was it just like on to the next?
I dated around a little bit, but really this divorce party that we've now talked about a couple of times, I was finally, so my ex-wife and I, we separated in November, and it took until April for her to actually like sign the papers. It was a nasty fight. It was not fun. And she had asked me if I would come take care of our condo, which is the place I live now, which is weird, and our dog while she went to Hawaii for a week for a job interview. I noticed on the calendar that that was our 5th wedding anniversary. So the night of our 5th wedding anniversary, I invited all of the gays from work that I knew, that I was remotely friends with, and threw a party here in this condo. So some of our colleagues who also went to UT Austin brought their friend with them to introduce me at this party, and he would become my now ex-husband.
We're going all in today, aren't we?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
So you met your ex-husband in the condo that you shared with your ex-wife.
Correct. That I'm currently sitting in talking to you now.
Memories.
And so I was at this divorce party, and so it was interesting. I met his now ex-husband like the same night that Mike met him, but I was the one that spent the night. I did one of those things where I like passed out and then late at night crawled into bed with Mike, again in a very platonic way, which I'm being serious about, and it doesn't sound that way. And I think, Mike, you told me later that in spite of having met the guy that would become his husband, in spite of that, like I was the one that, didn't your ex-wife hear that another guy was in your bed and she got mad at me or directed her anger towards me?
Yeah, she wanted to kill you, which is funny because you had lived in the same building for a little while. Anyway, but yeah, there were like a couple of pictures from that party where we were like sitting next to each other on the couch. And then anyway, yeah, she thought you were the one and she was like out to get you.
But there's another pattern forming here. People that you are with, Mike, get mad when you're with Kyle.
That's true.
What's that about?
What is that about?
I don't know.
Can I tell? Okay, speaking of hunting for dudes to marry or whatever, like to me, our place was the place to do that. To like, it's interesting. Mike has talked so much about like meeting up with the guy he's dating there, because I always saw it as like where you go to, again, like it's near the end of the night. I personally, I think others like just fucking got trashed there, danced, and then at the end of the night, they would kick you out, or they would like start to shepherd you, like actually like a dog shepherding sheep. Like they would eventually like move you outside. And then so eventually there was just this big gaggle of gays standing outside, like right outside the building on the sidewalk. And that was the point in time, you know, people joke about in bars at last call, you make eye contact with anyone. This is like, you know that you are standing outside on the sidewalk with a bunch of other drunk gays who like, we are all still here at the end of the night. So we don't have someone to go home with. So that was the time where you met, like you could find someone to like go home with or hook up with, or, you know, whatever you wanted to do.
Okay. So now it's becoming clearer to me why this is the place you wanted to end up on a night
Yes.
out. I need some tips, training on what to do in those situations. Because see, for me, when the lights go up, when it's all over, and when they are trying to get rid of you, I comply because I like stick to the rules. I don't want to upset anyone. And then I might try and like linger for a while, but I give up quite quickly. So how do you stay there on the sidewalk? That's an American term. I don't know why I said sidewalk. But how do you stay there on the sidewalk? And then how do you like attract people to you?
What do you say? Like pavement way? What's the
Pavement way.
what's the British way? Sorry, how do I say
in the
that?
gutter. That's where I would be hanging out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, boy. Hey,
Great.
that's me. Yeah. Okay. Here's my strategy that I didn't realize that I just now had. So this is the point in time. At this point in the night, a couple guys that you've making eyes with, you see if they're still there. You pay attention to where they're going in this flow as they're leaving. You're also drinking your drink because you're allowed to like finish your drink on the way down to show them like, hey, I'm also very drunk right now. So if you wanted this to happen, good news, it could. So you pay attention to where they are. You go downstairs, and if you could for a little bit, sit on the first floor, just sit down at the bar by yourself in case they walk by, and again, to see that you're by yourself. If you then make it out into the sidewalk, then this is where the eyes actually can connect and you could make it happen. So you could walk towards each other or pretend like you're shuffling through in the crowd to be next to them. And then it's a little bit easier to come up with conversation while you're while you're drunk, standing there like, boy, it was hot in there, or like, man, my dick is so not being sucked right now. It's crazy.
See, this is the problem for me as well, because in a loud nightclub, you aren't able to talk to each other. So I don't have the opportunity to say something stupid and make a fool of myself, nor do they have an opportunity to say something to me that puts me off for no reason whatsoever, other than they just use the wrong intonation. But when you're outside, you have to talk, and then they find out how awkward you are and stuff.
I hear you. Same way, same fears, all of that. But at this point, you're both drunk enough. You're both alone. You both, you're looking around, and there are few other options. You don't actually have to talk that much to be like, let's do this. Like there's not too much, and it doesn't have to be that high quality of conversation in order to like make it happen.
Yeah, I'm just expecting too much. Okay, but then my follow-up question, if they live on the other side of town to you, and then they're like, come back to my place, what is your decision-making process?
I mean, how hot are they? Like the distance I will go is very relative to how hot I think they are.
And does that include the potential of staying over?
It used to. It used to have the potential of staying over because I didn't have a dog at this time in my early years. Now that's not an option. There was a dude I went home with that, like the one that I remember of, like, we made eye contact. I went home with him, and he just had like a curtain around his room that was like kind of separated it, and like we hooked up on his bed behind the curtain, and you can kind of hear like someone was staying with him, like someone was visiting and staying with him.
His parents.
And I think it was his sister. I want to say, again, like I was not fully like processing all of this. I was just like, let's get to that dick. And he had a nice dick. But later I found out he had like this thing for people overhearing him. That was like a thing. Like he liked that. So I didn't realize I was like a piece in his game to like get this kind of weird like fetish or kink thing off. But yeah.
Does that have a name?
It's like an ear voyeur. I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know what that's called.
But it's the opposite of voyeur, isn't it? Because you want to be the one.
Yeah, it's exhibitionist, maybe.
Ooh. Well, you've just coined something if it doesn't already have a name. Exhibitionist.
Well, Kyle coined voyeur the other day on one of our ads, so like I can't claim that joke.
But like I don't know. I think so many people lived in Capitol Hill where this bar is that was my usual, is that you find someone whose place was nearby, and that was pretty convenient.
And you would stay the night.
Yeah, or I'd do my general hookup was if I could get out of there without having to really kind of like talk to you or face what I did. So like that may mean, especially after our place, if I'm particularly drunk, I would like, wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. and like try to figure it out. And like, I would definitely do the, like, let me get my shit and get out of here. I think for those kind of hookups, it's like But like they don't want me to wait until 9 a.m. and like say good morning, sweetie, and like talk about breakfast. Like I don't think anyone wanted that. I think we all just wanted to like move
But
on.
would you just not say goodbye?
I would.
That's a hookup with an Irish goodbye. That sounds very Kyle.
I would whisper in their ear, "You'll never see me again."
What makes it Irish?
The alcohol in my coffee. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and so you would never see. This is the thing for me with hookups. I mean, especially then, in like then. Sorry, when I was a young wee thing, it was always like, but maybe there's a potential that we'll like each other, and I shouldn't like fuck it up. So maybe I should stay and say hello. But now I would just avoid like talking altogether.
I have no basis, like nothing that we've established. Even the hookup apps, we talk a little bit more than like hooking up with someone at a bar. Like there's so little, I know so little about you, and a lot of times it's just based on wanting something physical. And I don't know. More often than not, it was not about trying to find a potential to date.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that it was always a surprise, right? Like, because you didn't say like, "What are your sexual positions? What do you enjoy? What is this? What is this?" You would just go to their place and then be like, "Oh, we're doing this now. Okay."
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, you haven't seen like 20 angles of their dick yet.
Well, I'm not complaining about that bit. Okay, so let's go back to our place. Let's get away from this skank that you stayed over the night with.
I think I was the skank.
Well, I mean, like, why not both? Do you remember hearing about our place closing? Oh, well, it was very recently, so I hope you did.
Yeah. I mean, this happened during COVID, so it's one of those things that it wasn't, we kind of knew that places might close down, so it was a little less surprising because it happened during that time. But it very much was like, of all the gay bars, there are, lots of options, which is very nice. And that was one of the few that I thought was always packed, always had people there. So I was very surprised that was the one that kind of got taken down. And it was very odd because I had not been there for a while. That kind of person that I'm describing is very much not me, at least in terms of my going out and my hookup process and like my drinking. Like all of that is very much like the 20s version of me. That was a place that I really enjoyed, and it had the right combination of things at the time, but is no longer who I am or what I want or need out of a bar. So I hadn't been there for a while. So, it's weird to complain about a place closing that I have not visited.
Yeah.
But also, it was big because that's the place. When I think about a gay bar, that's the place, you just like, when you picture a home, you picture your home, like the place you grew up in, like just picture any home. When I picture any bar, when I picture a bar, when I'm writing, I write. So like when I write about being in a bar, that's the bar I picture myself in and think about what I'm doing there, who I'm talking to, or just kind of that setup. So yeah, it was really sad to hear that place was shutting down. And I don't know.
And so final question from me. And this is when the cheese levels go right through the roof. So get ready. What did our place teach you about yourself?
Like I said, there were certain bars that were like, here's where all the like fancy dressed up gays go to like look at each other and judge them. And there was like the bear place and there was the fetish place. Like our place to me had this interesting combination of all of these things that helped me figure out which of those avenues I could take. And for a while I took the get trashed, dance, and hook up.
Skank as well.
Skank, yeah. Yep. Slutty skank. But I think I did that for long enough and realized that wasn't what I wanted. And there were other avenues. There were second floor of the bar. There were always just lesbians hanging out playing pool. We never hung out on the second floor because the lesbians were on that floor hanging out playing pool every time. There were just all these options of what you could be. And eventually I was like, I don't like the person that I'm choosing when I go to this place and get, 3 Long Islands and get trashed here. Like, I don't like that person. And so I think I then picked a different route.
But wait, so you're telling me that we're here to celebrate our place, but our place taught you that you didn't like the person that you were when you were at our place.
I think it showed me the options. It showed me different options that I could take. And I took one of the options that was sitting in front of me. And that was my doing. That was not the bar that did this. It was offering me these things, and I picked a route that I ended up saying, you know what? That was fun and drunk and slutty, but not. I'm still drunk and slutty, but in a different way. But like that was not for me.
Never let go of that.
No, never.
Mike?
I think it taught me that there are queer places where I do belong. I didn't know really what to expect from a gay bar, but it was more welcoming and represented more different kinds of people and more different kinds of things that you could do. And it really taught me that I do belong, and I do belong in that kind of environment. And I'll always really appreciate that.
I changed my answer to what Mike said. That sounded better.
Do you have any memories from our place or clubbing from your own queer scene that you want to share? Well, if you do, please get in touch. I want to create the biggest online record of people's memories and stories of queer spaces. Go to lostspacespodcast.com and find the section Share a Lost Space to tell me all about what it is you got up to. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where my handle is Lost Spaces Pod. Find out more about Mike and Kyle by visiting their website, gayishpodcast.com, following them on Twitter or Instagram, where their handle is gayishpodcast, very handy, or you can just listen to their show wherever you find podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate, if you subscribed, left a review on your podcast platform, or just told somebody else who you think might be interested in giving it a little listen too. I am Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.